The automobile is humanity's liveliest inanimate creation. Well, I admit that you could say the same about other things around us, like musical instruments, for example. But it's not easy to create a full cartoon with violins and pianos as the main characters. With cars, it makes sense. Cars features only car characters. There's the old sheriff, secret agent, laid-back guy, soldier, old grandmother, young hothead, Italians, and local beauty. All depicted as legendary cars you recognize. And what's crazy is that it works. Their role fits their design, their humor works, and their style and appearance reveal their character and reactions. In the movie, we instantly figure out who they are just by the shape of their face, the color of their body, or the way they walk. In real life, it's the same. Our streets are like a Pixar cast, but in real life, since I was 3 years old, I've been drawing cars. I've worked for several car manufacturers, and I've spent almost the last 10 years of my life analyzing the style of every model that came onto the market. I analyze them for you on YouTube, and the more I'm in this world, the more I notice people resemble their cars. Construction workers in vans, their forearms tanned from driving with windows down. The charming girl in a Fiat 500 or Mini Cooper, a rebel who doesn't stray far from the norm, still. The slightly tired dads in minivans, a bit worn out, the well-behaved salesmen in their typical salesman cars, and a whole bunch of other types we're going to talk about today. I like them, but you usually hear them before seeing them because they want attention. We laugh, but it's no accident. Cars reflect more than our style or color. They show our posture, attitude, and reveal who we are. Some smile, others frown, some show off, and others don't know where to fit in, just like their owners. Lining up these silhouettes side by side resembles a class photo of society. Like a kind of collective mirror, with all our differences and desires. Some cars had a short-lived career, not due to engine trouble or cost, but simply for having an unattractive appearance that no one wanted to see each morning. And in history, there are even entire brands that disappeared simply because they changed their look in the wrong direction. There's a subjective side to this. Each driver has personal tastes and references, their own automotive Madeline. When a manufacturer invests millions of euros in launching a model, there's no room for chance. Behind every line, look, and attitude. Many versions are tested and calibrated to ensure the product appeals to as many people as possible. For over a century, designers worldwide have sought the love filter. The ideal recipe to design a car that matches your identity and projects your desired image, making you want to buy it. And that's how your car ends up looking like you. Ask a child to draw a car, and 99% of the time they'll draw this. A side view showing a 3-box silhouette, trunk, cabin, and hood. That always surprises me, since this format is slowly disappearing in Europe, and you rarely see them on the streets now. But if you ask him to draw a car from the front, he'll make something like this, with round headlights, even though today, car headlights are more like this, or in that style. Among the 10 best-selling models in France in 2024, it's simple, not a single one has. Round headlights appear only in the top 15 at 12th and 13th, the Twingo and Fiat 500. Yes, I think the Twingo counts as having round headlights, even if they're not perfectly round. No need to nitpick. Yet, we're still attached to that round shape. A rectangle for the body, 2 wheels, and 2 big eyes in front. If inspired, a child will usually add a smiling mouth. They've unknowingly illustrated the core concept in automotive design shared by all brands, the face. On a car, headlights are the eyes, the grille or air intake is the mouth, and features like the hood, fenders, and mirrors form the rest. It's meant to give it an expression that matches this face. Some cars appear to smile, others look grumpy, focused, or arrogant. Still, our brain automatically assigns emotions to them, a phenomenon called pareidolia. Our brains naturally tend to see faces or familiar shapes where none exist. It's a cognitive bias deeply rooted in our evolution since the birth of humanity and prehistoric times. It's safer to mistake a bush for a predator than the reverse. Our brain is wired to constantly detect faces even when none are present, so we notice smiles in outlets, faces in clouds, and eyes in headlights. This reaction occurs instantly in a part of the temporal cortex specialized for face recognition, activating automatically, often before reason intervenes. That's why in an instant, we can say a car looks mean, sad, or friendly. Unable to explain why, designers have relied on this instinctive reflex for decades. Changing the headlight's shape, grille width, or hood height lets us sculpt a facial expression. Round headlights seem gentle and human to us, like 2 big open eyes, while thin and stretched headlights evoke focus or threat. A wide grille resembles a smile, a low one a clenched jaw. All of it is meant to trigger a basic emotional response. This human-like quality in car design comes from technical constraints, not artistic choices. Early car makers focused on lighting the road, not making people happy, so engineers naturally chose round headlights. Efficient at reflecting light, easy to make, ideal for stamping, practical and affordable. Remove it from the mold and install in pairs. This was the automotive industry standard for decades. In 1960, Ford launched the Taunus P3 in Europe with oval headlights, a small revolution then, but many models still kept their classic circular headlights. We all grew up with icons like the Porsche 911 Ford Mustang, Fiat 500 DFO, 3 Series E30 and Volkswagen Combi. Their round headlights left a lasting impression. Constant exposure to cars with those features made our brains get used to it, so pareidolia has persisted. It's even the basis of the emotional connection that ties us to cars and allows us to attribute intentions to them. Saying a car looks nice or aggressive doesn't explain why some cars resemble their owners. Personally, I even feel like you can sometimes smell the drivers. People often say dogs resemble their owners, and it's true. A 2004 University of California study by psychologists Michael Roy and Nicholas Christenfeld proved this in a striking way. They photographed 45 owners and their dogs, then asked a panel of observers to match the pairs. People identified the correct pairs more often than chance, especially with purebred dogs. Why? We pick animals that reflect our self-image in size, energy, temperament, and sometimes even their eyes. Over time, we start to feel in sync, sharing the same rhythms, habits, and expressions. And it's exactly the same with cars, even though I know we're definitely gonna have some guys in the comments telling us otherwise. Buying decisions are rarely entirely rational. All studies show most drivers don't pick a car just by the spec sheet. We all use objective factors like budget, reliability, trunk space, or fuel consumption as cover. But when it comes time to decide, we balance that with our personal feelings, and we almost always go for the one that best matches the image we want to project. That's why it feels odd to see a 2-meter tall person step out of a microcar. Our brain can't connect the body with the image. On the other hand, when the driver's figure or personality matches that of the car, everything seems obvious. This coherence isn't just from a social stereotype, it's rooted in our biology. In 2012, Stefan Windegel's team at the University of Vienna found our brains analyze car faces the same way as human faces. Researchers showed Austrian adults the front view of 46 car models, all the same color and size. They had to say whether each car looked young or old, feminine or masculine, dominant or submissive. The results are fascinating. Cars seen as young had larger windshields like big foreheads and rounder, more open headlights. Like a child's eyes and a smaller grille, like a little nose. In other words, they literally had a baby face. Conversely, dominant or adult models had narrower headlights, a wider mouth, and stronger proportions. Traits we instinctively link to masculine, mature faces. And to ensure there was no cultural bias, advertising, or Pixar movie influence on the panel, the team repeated the same experiment in rural Ethiopia with people unfamiliar with these images. The result: same associations, same judgments. This human reading of cars is therefore universal. The study found city cars like the Toyota Aygo and Volkswagen New Beetle were seen as feminine, friendly, and harmless, while the BMW 5 Series Chrysler 300C or Mercedes E-Class embodied maturity, dominance, and power. When you look at a car, you see a face, attitude, and character, not just a machine. And when that character resonates with yours, you want to buy it. That's what we call the halo effect. We project onto the driver the qualities we attribute to their car. A compact car suggests caution, a German sedan looks serious, a station wagon appears natural, and a classic coupe shows you're nostalgic and an aesthete. It's not just an impression, it changes behavior. A 2020 study by Courtney Kofner at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas showed this. The researchers observed 461 vehicles at 2 unmarked crosswalks, recording if drivers stopped. As a result, only 28% of drivers yielded the right of way, and above all, the more expensive the car, the less likely the driver was to stop. A $1,000 vehicle price increase lowered the chance of yielding to a pedestrian by 3%. Drivers stopped more often for women than men, showing that the car acts as a social exoskeleton and changes driver behavior. It amplifies certain traits like dominance, confidence, or haste, and it neutralizes others like caution or empathy. And behind all this, there's a very well-established psychological model. It's known as the Big Five, or the 5 major personality traits. It's one of the foundations used by research to describe human personalities. Each of us falls somewhere on 5 axes: openness, curiosity, creativity, novelty, conscientiousness, reliability, duty, extroversion, social energy, agreeableness, kindness, cooperation, empathy, and emotional stability, handling stress and emotions. These 5 dimensions directly influence our car choices. Conscientious people prefer reliable, consistent cars such as the Toyota Yaris, Skoda Octavia, or Volkswagen Passat. Extroverts want flashy or high-performance models like the BMW M Grand Touring Injection or Alfa Romeo Quadrifoglio. Open-minded people like cars with strong identities such as a Mini, DS, or Twingo Harlequin. Emotional or nostalgic people often favor timeless icons like the MX, 5911, and other young-timers. In short, your car shows your psychological priorities. It's not just transportation, but an extension of your personality and core values like freedom, stability, or recognition. Often, even before you're aware of it yourself. And we can go even further by noting that there's a Maslow's pyramid for car manufacturers, the Maslow's pyramid. It's another well-known psychology model from the 20th century explaining human motivation. The main point is that in a diverse society, people seek different things at different times. Our needs range from basic to symbolic. At the pyramid's base are basic needs, food, sleep, and safety. When these needs are met, we move up to more social needs. Belonging, recognition, and personal fulfillment. In summary, it's a scale of human motivation that goes from I want to survive to I want to achieve personal fulfillment. And it's fascinating to see how perfectly this pyramid applies to the automotive world. Safety needs are the foundation. The aim is to drive stress-free, confident the car starts daily, and maintenance stays affordable. And the design features that reflect this are the simple, reassuring, and honest lines from Honda, Ford, or Skoda, cars built for peace of mind, not performance. These cars suggest, I protect my budget and peace of mind. There's also a desire to belong. After we feel safe, we try to fit in and avoid social mistakes by being like others. This is the world of popular small cars, led by Clio, 308, and Volkswagen Golf. Cars with a consensual, reassuring design with controlled colors and balanced shapes. They claim, I'm part of the group, just a normal person. This acts as a passport for those without a desire to stand out. Then comes the need for esteem. Once we're integrated, we seek to be recognized. Premium brands like Audi, BMW, Mercedes, some Cadillacs, or Genesis sell you visible success. Their design is bold, authoritative, and prestigious, making the car a status symbol that says, look at what I've achieved. And at the very top of the pyramid, we find the need for meaning and personal fulfillment. At this level, you're no longer buying a functional object, you're buying an idea. A Rolls-Royce, Alpina 110 Tesla Plaid, Lambo, or Bentley. These cars represent a philosophy, reflecting a lifestyle and a connection to time or technology. Ultimately, they're more than practical tools, they're identity manifestos. I don't drive just to get around, I drive to express myself. From this view, you see each brand positions itself uniquely in the market. Dacia stands for safety, Volkswagen for belonging, BMW for esteem, and Rolls-Royce or Ferrari for achievement. The automobile. So it's not just a simple list of technical options, it's a hierarchical response to our deepest human needs. Successful brands know which level they're targeting and adjust their design, message, and stance accordingly. The Volkswagen Group's structure is a great example, meeting many needs with its 10 brands. Audi stands for premium, Porsche for luxury sports, Lamborghini for supercars, Seat for dynamic youth, Skoda for value, Bentley for British luxury, Bugatti for dreams, Cupra for sports, and Volkswagen for everyone. These brands' products are similar, but their strategy is the most diversified in the automotive market. Each brand targets a different audience, has its own identity, and generates its own profits. This way, Volkswagen avoids relying on just one area. If a brand or market segment struggles, others can compensate. No matter your style, you can find a car that suits you. Leading car brands distinguish themselves with unique traits and styles that reflect their personalities. And that's no coincidence. That's what we call brand identity, this invisible link between the manufacturer, the product, and the person who drives it. It's often what makes you love or hate one brand over another, even if you can't exactly explain why. And when we talk about design identity, we're actually talking about a coherent visual language that allows a brand's attributes to be conveyed through all its models. The best brands manage to have that family feeling, the impression that even without a logo, you instantly recognize that a car comes from a specific brand. It's a primal sense of recognition. Your brain responds to a grille, a look, or a body line, Volkswagen, Peugeot, or BMW. At Volkswagen, everything is designed to convey reliability and consistency. The lines are rational, and a serious look is achieved by any means, even if it becomes boring with only horizontal lines and compact forms. A Golf, Polo, and Tiguan all share a calm, structured tone reflecting German order and stability. This car is for those who prefer to play it safe and stay in the middle. The advantage is an instantly recognizable, ultra-strong identity that builds confidence. The problem is this consistency soon gets boring. Once everything's calibrated, nothing surprises you. It's a familiar face with little left to say. At BMW, everything radiates tension and performance. The iconic double kidney grills are recognized worldwide. And the angel eyes, which I told you about in detail in that video, stare at you. Focused and arrogant, giving the whole lineup a little predator's smirk. All their models have precise proportions, long hoods, and sharp lines, all expressing control. But this consistency has limits. By focusing on visual dominance, BMW has sometimes crossed from power to aggressiveness, or even ridiculous, which can irritate a whole segment of potential customers. Peugeot's transformation is recent, as they've changed their face in recent years. Sharp headlights, glowing fangs, high hood, muscular shape, they aimed for charisma, bordering on theatrical. That let them regain desirability with their look and muscular, ready-to-pounce physique. Still, there's a risk. Designing a car with sharp lines but using a PureTech engine lacks consistency. Volvo does the opposite. Everything is based on common safety. Their face is soft, clean and rational, with smooth features, a calm expression and intentionally no aggressiveness. Their key word is safety on board, and their strength is confident discretion. On the other hand, their weakness is that this neutrality sometimes makes them invisible. And in a street full of cars shouting their presence, Volvo whispers. Each brand has its own style, conveying values like power, serenity, agility, accessibility, aggressiveness, or luxury. Form is nonverbal communication, which is a major challenge for designers. They must evolve their style yearly without losing their identity. Too bold and they lose their audience, too little and it's boring. So, the natural question that comes up is, how do you manage to convey these values through design? What codes and tools give an object made of sheet metal, glass, and rubber its attitude and personality? Let's do a quick exercise with a familiar silhouette, the SUV, known for its high clearance, flat hood, bold bumpers, and elevated stance. It's no coincidence this format has led the market for 10 years. Most people feel safer in an SUV, and that's true. That feeling mainly comes from the design, which aims to evoke robustness, dominance, and control. It's a physical stance that says, I tower over the world. But from that same silhouette, you can tell completely different stories. Making an SUV is just the beginning. It all depends on the brand's intended message. Let's begin with Jeep. Here, it's about raw toughness and pure military DNA. I discussed this in the video. The 7-slot grille, axe-cut wheel arches, and huge ground clearance all shout off-road. The Wrangler is a great example with military history and durable construction. It's square and raw, staying archaic even in modern versions. Its surfaces aren't meant to attract, but to resist. It's a car that says, I'll survive the apocalypse, you won't. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the Hyundai Santa Fe, the 2024 version, which perfectly illustrates the new generation SUV, Ultra. Structured and nearly cubic with an architectural level of detail. Where Jeep relies on ruggedness, Hyundai goes for rational modernity. Look at its front end. Rectangles, axe-shaped headlights, and sharp graphics evoke technology, engineering, and precision. This SUV aims for a structured look, not rugged. It's a 4x4 built for the city, not off-roading. He doesn't claim to survive in the wild, but instead says he dominates the city. There are also extravagant SUVs, such as Lamborghini's Urus. The overall silhouette and proportions remain similar, but the philosophy is entirely different. The edges are taut like muscles under the skin, the lines intersect in sharp points, and the gaping air intakes give it a wild, predatory look. The Urus aims to impress, not reassure you. It's the SUV as a symbol of social dominance, flaunting power with bold design, even if it seems arrogant. To finish with another example, this silhouette shows a Range Rover, which embodies silent power. For the English, robustness means purity, simple lines, solid shapes, and smooth, confident surfaces. The Range Rover subtly implies its strength, providing a perfect contrast to the Urus. The Italian screams for attention, but the British aristocrat feels no need to prove himself. This little overview shows how much automotive design works, like an emotional grammar. Using the same word in similar cars, each brand creates a different message. A Jeep means to resist, Santa Fe is to organize, Urus is to dominate, and Range Rover is to master. That's why cars have a brand physique that, in turn, often reflects the driver. Before we discuss one last element I discovered during my research for this video. Ultimately, all my research and thoughts point to one conclusion. The automobile isn't just a reflection, but an amplifier. It doesn't fundamentally change who you are, but it can make your personality more assertive, more visible to everyone, and more confident. A geeky-looking guy in a luxury car isn't just a geek, he's the one who made it. The premium nerd who turned intelligence quotient into horsepower. In a regular car, he's just another guy. But in a car, at the top of the hierarchy of needs, which is about the pursuit of self-actualization, we analyze him. A startup founder who's thriving. He hasn't changed, but his car symbolizes his social success. On the other hand, the girl who seems superficial at first, with her extensions and Jacquemus bag. If she gets out of a pink Mini or a Fiat 500 Cabrio with plastic eyelashes stuck on the headlights, the stereotype is complete. Her unique image is magnified, making her car look like a real-life Instagram filter. A bodybuilder in a Clio campus is a humble, muscular gym-goer. But in Endurus, his image transforms entirely. He turns into the Dubai guy, a fitness influencer, or a mobster in shady dealings. It's the same person in physique, but the interpretation is completely different. The car serves as a symbolic translator, expressing your message more loudly and visibly. An old gentleman in a Jaguar is one who still wears classic cologne. But in a Toyota Prius, he's a thrifty and pragmatic grandpa. In a Multipla, he turns into a lovable, absent-minded grandfather. These aren't really stereotypes, but rather perceived codes, visual shortcuts that our brain uses without even realizing it. And that's the genius or the cruelty of the automobile. It doesn't lie, but it exaggerates. And sometimes the car creates such a strong cognitive dissonance that we don't even know how to react anymore. A 20-year-old in a Rolls-Royce is as jarring as a man in a suit entering a rundown Twingo. Your brain can't accept it. Because we all have a mental map of automotive coherence. We intuitively know which silhouettes belong to which archetypes. When reality doesn't match expectations, it unsettles us. A plumber in a pickup feels genuine, but one in a Maserati seems suspicious. An artist in a Fiat Panda seems poetic, but in an RS6 the same person looks like a successful art dealer. Designers understand this amplifying power deeply. When shaping a line, they know the emotions it will evoke. An inclined windshield signals speed, a high grille dominance, and a smooth surface calm. Combining these signals lets you predict who will connect with the product, which is why SUVs are so popular. They give everyone the feeling of being a little more powerful, a little more important, a little higher, but it also works the other way around. The car can highlight contradictions. When I see a Mustang driver going 40 km/h in a village, I imagine he's suffering. That's why automotive design is closely tied to human psychology, and why this passion affects millions. A car bridges your inner self and how others perceive you. An object that lets you display the version of yourself you wish to see and share. A car is more like a loudspeaker than a mirror, which is why we get so attached to them. Because when we get in, we feel more like ourselves, or sometimes like who we want to be.